The motel is our only option. Emily quietly nodded. Neither of them wanted to be there, but neither had another choice. The motel lobby was nearly empty. An elderly clerk looked up from the front desk. "I'm sorry. Only one room left." Ryan immediately answered, "We'll keep driving." The clerk shook his head. "The roads are flooded. The police closed both exits." Emily looked outside. The rain was getting worse. After a long silence, Ryan accepted the room key. The room was small. 2 beds, 1 window. The sound of rain filled every corner. Emily sat near the window without saying a word. Ryan stood by the door. "I'll sleep for a few hours. As soon as the weather clears." "We'll leave." Emily nodded. Another long silence followed. Finally, Emily spoke. "Do you ever wonder? When people stop being in love?" Ryan looked down. "I try not to think about things that aren't mine to answer." Emily smiled sadly. "That's the problem. Nobody asks anymore." She looked toward the rain. "I can't remember the last real conversation Daniel and I had. We live in the same house, but it feels like we're living completely different lives." Ryan remained quiet. He knew she wasn't asking him to fix her marriage. She simply wanted someone to hear her. Emily whispered, "I still love him, but I don't think he sees me anymore." Her voice broke. "I've become another appointment on his calendar." Tears slowly filled her eyes. Ryan walked over carefully. He didn't say a word. He simply handed her a tissue. Emily laughed through her tears. "I always thought marriage would be hard. I never thought loneliness would be the hardest part." For several minutes, they simply listened to the storm. Then Ryan quietly admitted something. "I started avoiding you." Emily looked surprised. "Why?" "Because every time I saw how unhappy you were, I wanted to make things better, and I knew that wasn't my place." Emily looked at him for a long moment. "Thank you for seeing me." Those words hit Ryan harder than he expected. Without thinking, Emily reached for his hand. Neither of them moved. Neither of them spoke. Months of loneliness, heartbreak, and unspoken emotions finally caught up with them. Emily slowly stood. She wrapped her arms around Ryan. It wasn't planned. It wasn't passionate. It was 2 exhausted people looking for comfort they had both been missing. Ryan quietly said, "We shouldn't be doing this." Emily closed her eyes. "I know." She rested her forehead against his. For a long moment, neither of them moved. It wasn't excitement that brought them together. It was grief, loneliness, and months of emotions they had tried to bury. Ryan wrapped his arms around her. She held him just as tightly. Inside, they crossed a boundary they had promised themselves they never would. When morning arrived, they woke beneath the same blanket. The room felt painfully quiet. Ryan was already awake, standing by the window. Emily sat on the edge of the bed. Neither could look at the other. Finally, Ryan spoke. "Last night can't define the rest of our lives." Emily nodded slowly. "No, but pretending it never happened won't erase it either." The drive home was silent. Over the following months, they avoided each other. Family dinners became uncomfortable. Ryan stopped visiting. Emily buried herself in work and raising Sophia. Daniel noticed the distance, but assumed it was caused by his constant travel. He never asked. Then one afternoon, while searching for insurance papers, Daniel found the motel receipt tucked inside Emily's travel folder. At first, he assumed there had been an emergency. Then he saw the date. He remembered exactly where he had been: Chicago. He also remembered who had driven Emily to the charity gala: his younger brother, that evening. Daniel placed the receipt on the kitchen table. "What happened that night?" Emily froze. She looked at the paper, then at her husband. For the first time in months, complete honesty filled the room. "I never meant to hurt you." Daniel closed his eyes. "That's not what I asked." Tears rolled down Emily's face. "It happened. And I've regretted it every single day since." The truth shattered the family. Daniel confronted Ryan. Ryan didn't defend himself. "I betrayed your trust. I'm sorry. I'll live with that for the rest of my life." The marriage ended quietly a few months later. Not because of one night alone, but because both Daniel and Emily finally admitted. Their marriage had been breaking long before the storm arrived. Ryan disappeared from their lives. Nearly a year passed before he spoke to Emily again. Only after the divorce was final, only after the anger had settled, did they slowly begin rebuilding their lives together. Some family members never forgave them. Others eventually accepted that life and love. She spent 12 years sleeping beside one man, until one storm made her wake up in another man's arms. Everyone called it an affair. They called it the biggest mistake of their lives. She never imagined spending a night alone with her husband's younger brother. But when a violent storm stranded them in a tiny roadside motel, two lonely hearts crossed a line they had promised themselves they never would. By sunrise, two families were already on the path to falling apart. Emily Carter believed marriage was something you protected. Even when it stopped protecting you, she and Daniel had been married for 12 years. Together they had built a beautiful home in suburban Ohio. Their daughter, Sophia, was the center of their world. From the outside, they looked like the kind of family everyone admired, but appearances rarely tell the whole story. Daniel owned a rapidly growing construction company. Success changed him. Not overnight, but little by little. His mornings started earlier. His nights ended later. Business trips became routine. Phone calls during dinner became normal. Weekend vacations quietly disappeared. Emily never complained. She convinced herself he was doing it for their future. But one evening, Sophia looked at her mother and asked, "Is Daddy coming home tonight?" Emily forced a smile. "I hope so." Sophia nodded. "I miss him." Those 3 words broke something inside Emily. Because she missed him too, not the man paying the bills, the man who used to laugh with her, hold her hand, notice when she wasn't okay. That man had quietly disappeared. Daniel wasn't cruel. He wasn't abusive. He simply believed that providing financially was enough. Emily never wanted expensive gifts. She wanted conversations. She wanted someone to ask, "How was your day?" Weeks turned into months. Daniel spent more time in hotels than at home. Birthdays, anniversaries, school events, business always came first. Then there was Ryan, Daniel's younger brother. Ryan had always admired Emily, not romantically, simply as someone who held the family together. Whenever Daniel traveled, Ryan stopped by to help. He fixed broken shelves, picked Sophia up from soccer practice, helped carry groceries. Nothing unusual, nothing inappropriate. He was simply being family. One evening, Ryan found Emily sitting alone on the back porch. She didn't hear him walk outside. "You okay?" Emily laughed softly. "It depends. On what? On whether pretending counts as being okay." Ryan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he sat beside her. For several minutes, neither of them spoke. Sometimes silence says more than advice. Emily finally whispered, "I don't remember the last time someone actually asked how I was." Ryan looked toward the backyard. "I guess everyone assumes strong people don't need checking on." Emily smiled, a real smile, one Daniel hadn't seen in months. That conversation changed something, not their relationship, their honesty. Over the next few weeks, they talked more often. Sometimes about Sophia, sometimes about work, sometimes about absolutely nothing. Emily realized she laughed more during those conversations than she had in years. Ryan noticed, too. It worried him, because he knew where emotional dependence could lead, so he began keeping his distance. He visited less often, answered texts later, made excuses to leave early. Emily noticed immediately. One afternoon she asked, "Did I do something wrong?" Ryan shook his head. "No, I'm just trying to do the right thing." Emily didn't understand what he meant. Not yet. A month later, Daniel called from Chicago. "I'm sorry, I won't make it to tonight's charity gala." Emily sighed. "It was our idea." "I know. I'm sorry. I already asked Ryan to take you." Emily almost refused, but the ticket had been purchased months earlier, so she agreed. The event itself was ordinary. Dinner, music, small talk, nothing remarkable. Until they started driving home. Dark clouds rolled across the highway. Rain slammed against the windshield. Lightning lit up the road ahead. Ryan slowed the car. Then suddenly, the engine lost power. He guided the vehicle safely onto the side. They were stranded, miles from the nearest town. No phone signal, no passing traffic, only relentless rain, and a small roadside motel, glowing faintly in the distance, are sometimes far more complicated than they first appear. One mistake changed everything. But it also forced everyone involved to finally face truths they had been avoiding for years.